Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Once again, it's your boy Abdul, your neighborhood health man. I am here today on Grown Post Podcast. We're going to have a good talk today. I think this is going to be an exciting topic. I think it's a little controversial too, but I think it's a great topic because a lot of people are dealing with this. Today, we are going to talk about mental health. Now, with everything that's going on today, everybody is talking about mental health, I kind of wanted to get involved in this conversation because I see there's a lot of people that's talking about it, and they give you some suggestions, but they don't also give you, I don't think, all the solutions as far as the nutrition and things like that. So I'm going to talk a lot about the nutritional aspects that can help you with dealing with mental health. Now, there's a lot of people who deal with mental health. If you notice, just this last week, Ben Simmons, the Philadelphia basketball player who was traded to Brooklyn, came out talking about his mental health issues. You know, you have Charlemagne the God talk about mental health issues. Kanye West is a big proponent. You know, he deals with, I think, bipolar, and they talk about his mental battles and things like that. Another basketball player, John Wall, has come out talking about he was actually suicidal at one point in time with the death of his grandmother, the death of his, I think, some other relatives, the injuries he had playing basketball. So he came out talking about that. And so many other people are dealing with mental health issues. So we want to talk about some of the mental health issues. Now, there is a plethora of things, plethora of disorders when you talk about mental health. We're not going to go down all of them because there's just way too many. We're not dealing with schizophrenia. We're not going to deal with bipolar or anything like that. We're going to deal with just the basic, what most people deal with is either depression and anxiety. Like I said, most people deal with what? Depression and anxiety. So we're going to go through what they are, what are some of the symptoms of dealing with depression and anxiety, and we're going to talk about some solutions and some natural things you could do to help deal with depression and anxiety. And I want you to be aware, dealing with stress is not necessarily depression. Dealing with stress is not necessarily anxiety. But having these disorders, actually, one of the correlations is having a lot of stress on you sometimes, you know? So that's one of the things. So,
Recording has started.
Oh, I made a mistake. It's not the same. You having stress does not necessarily mean you're going to become depressed, and you having stress does not necessarily mean you are going to have anxiety. But usually having anxiety, one of the correlations is stress involved. Same thing with depression. Some stress factors have been involved. So we're going to talk about the things that have that effect. So we're going to read. You know, I'm a firm believer in giving y'all the real information when it comes down to it. So this is from the NIH. Depression is a common but serious mood disorder. It can cause severe symptoms that affect you how you feel, think, and handle daily activities such as sleeping, eating, or working. To be diagnosed with depression, the symptoms must be presented for at least 2 weeks. There are different types of depression. We're not going to get into those. You have major depression, you have persistent depression, you have prenatal depression, you have seasonal affective disorder, and you have depression with symptoms of psychosis. So we're not going to get into the symptoms of psychosis and things of that nature. But I'm going to get into some of the symptoms of depression. Okay? Persistent, sad, anxious, or empty mood. Feeling of hopelessness and pessimism. Feeling of irritability, frustration, and restlessness. Shoot, that's sometimes with my kids. I hate depression, but sometimes they make me feel like that. Feeling of guilt, worrylessness, and helplessness. So you feel worthlessness. Loss of interest or pleasure in hobbies and activities. You see that people who are depressed, they really don't want to do anything. Decreased energy, fatigue, or feeling slowed down. Difficulty concentrating, remembering, and making decisions. Difficulty sleeping, early morning awakening, or oversleeping. Okay? Changes in appetite or unplanned weight changes. Thoughts of death and suicide or suicidal attempts. Aches and pains, headaches, cramps, digestive problems can all come from depression. and like I said, suicidal attempts and thoughts. So those are some of the symptoms of someone who's going through depression. As you see, it's a lot, but when you hear about depression, you see how this can affect people. They talk about suicidal thoughts. You ever heard somebody, they just say they feel, they just don't feel up to it. They're feeling sad all the time. They feel empty. I feel empty inside. You've heard those statements. You're hopeless. They're always negative. They're pessimist. All those things like that. They feel helpless. Those are signs of depression. Those are symptoms of depression. Ooh, it is raining outside. I hope y'all don't hear all that. It is raining. What is anxiety disorder? Okay, so depression is one thing. Then you also have anxiety. Anxiety is a normal reaction to stress, but it can be beneficial in some situations. It can alert us to danger and help us prepare and pay attention. Anxiety disorder differs from normal feeling of nervousness and anxiousness and involves excessive fear or anxiety. Okay? So it's okay to have some anxiety, but anxiety disorder differs because you're having it all the time. You have excessive amount. Anxiety disorders are the most common of mental disorders and affect nearly 30% of adults at some point in their life. You've had people that talk about they deal with anxiety. They can feel the panic coming up in them, and all those things like that. So it can affect up to 30% of adults one time in their life. So 1 out of 3 of us have had some type of anxiety disorder. This is some of the symptoms of anxiety: palpitations, heart pounding, rapid heart rate, sweating, trembling or shaking, feeling shortness of breath and smothering sensation, chest pain. You hear it feel like your heart is about to beat out you. You're developing chest pains, feeling dizzy, lightheaded or faint, feeling of choking, numbness or tingling, chills or hot flashes. Wow, hot flashes. I didn't know that. Abdominal and nausea pain. You've heard that. You heard somebody, they get so anxious, they actually get pain in their stomach. Some people get have so much anxiety, they actually vomit. Feeling of detachment, fear of losing control, and fear of dying. All these things are symptoms of anxiety. Now, I found this interesting. I found this article, and this was really interesting to me. About 1 out of 5 young adults getting mental health care. This is from the CDC. This is information from the CDC that 1 out of 5 young adults are getting treatment, or 1 out of 4 young adults are getting treatment for anxiety and on depression, like mental health issues. This is the article. This is coming from the CDC, and I like to give y'all real information. Almost a quarter of all young adults received mental health treatment last year, according to recent data from the CDC. The number of adults ages from 18 to 44 who received mental health in the past 12 months saw the biggest increase from 2019 from 18.5% to 23.2%. And in 2021, the percentage of all adults who received mental health treatment also increased from 19.2% in 2019 to 21.6% in 2021. So we had an increase in mental health treatments during this time. Now, I do believe that the pandemic had a lot to do with that. Being locked in the house, not being able to talk to coworkers or friends and family the same way, it caused a lot of mental health issues. So I think that was a contributing factor, the lockdowns and things like that. And they said the lockdowns did a lot more damage than what they believe it actually did good. So this is showing some of that type of information that, listen, the lockdowns were great. It was needed, but there's a lot of side effects that came from locking down our society, especially when it comes down to mental health. Okay? So this is another thing. Women were more likely to have received mental health treatments during during 2019, 20, and 21. But the amount who received treatment both increased for men and women. The data shows 28.6% of women of all ages received treatment in the past 12 months in 2021, up from 23.8%. While 17.8% of men received it in the same year, is up from 13.1%. So that means it's been increased about 5% more women are getting it more than men. So 17.8% of men, 28.6% of women are actually getting treatment. So during that time, there's more and more women that's having mental health issues. Now, as you know how I am, I'm a man that like to talk about not only things that we can do, solutions. So I have my notes. I just want y'all to know I have my notes today. So we talked about the mental health. Now let's talk about some solutions that can be done for mental health. Okay, let me go through my notes. Techniques that can help you with depression and anxiety. Hey, let me ask y'all a question. Can you hear actually the rain behind me? Can y'all hear that? Does anybody hear all this rain?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
You can hear it, right?
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
It is. I am telling you, it is raining.
I not only can hear. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
I'm not only hearing the rain behind you. I'm hearing the rain behind me. It is pouring.
It is pouring. It is pouring. I just seen 3 bolts of lightning. This may be a short podcast.
Yeah.
Thank God to nature, right?
Amen.
So we're going to go over some of the treatments for it, for depression and anxiety. Exercise. Now, one of the best things you can do when you are dealing with depression and anxiety is exercise. Now, why do I say exercise? Exercise increases endorphins, okay? Endorphins. Endorphins are these hormones in the body that make you feel good. Okay, endorphins help you with pain relief. Endorphin gives you the feeling. You ever work out so much where you're tired and all of a sudden you get this burst and you feel great and your mind is clear and all them other things? Well, your body is secreting endorphins. So endorphins help you feel better. They help reduce pain. They give you this energy. They give you this focus, this clarity. So working out increases endorphins. Also, working out helps you burn off the anxiety energy. So when you're feeling like this anxiety is coming on and you're exercising, you literally burn off the energy that's going to cause your heart to race and all those other things like that. Exercise makes you feel better, raises your endorphin levels, helps you with energy levels, help you burn off the excessive amount of anxiety energy, and it just puts you in a much better mood. So exercising is the number one thing you want to do, a technique you could do. They always tell people, when you're going through hard times, go exercise. You could go swim, you could go walk, you could go run, you could go to the gym, lift weights. We already talked about how important exercise was in a couple of videos. When we talked about high-intensity interval training, how important that is to boost testosterone and also help you deal with stress and all of other things like that. So exercise is the number one technique or number one thing you can do to help you get your depression and anxiety a little more under control, okay? Number 2 is meditation. Meditation gets you into what do you want to say? Helps the body deal with stress. And why does meditation do that? Meditation helps manage stress and anxiety. Deep breathing exercises, oxygenate the blood, calm the body down, calm the mind down. A lot of times in anxiety, especially in anxiety, the mind runs. The mind is running. It's telling you that something is going on. You're having this anxious feeling. Well, meditation calms your body down. So it calms the mind down. And your body responds the same way the mind does. So if your mind is calm, your body relaxes. Your body relaxes, you calm down anxiety. Meditation is one of the best things you can do when it comes down to dealing with anxiety. When it comes down to dealing with depression, meditation also helps. It puts you in a thought, like what they saw, like a thoughtful breathing pattern or like a calm breathing pattern. And that helps the body deal with stress. It lowers your cortisol level. Now, what is your cortisol level? Cortisol is your stress hormone that is secreted from the adrenal glands. It naturally lowers your cortisol level by doing meditation. If you lower your stress hormone, it helps your body deal with depression better. It allows the body not to burn up the other hormones that actually makes you feel better. Okay? So meditation is extremely important for helping you deal with anxiety and depression. Okay? Another thing you could do is yoga. Now, yoga kind of falls in line sort of like with meditation. It's more of a relaxation technique. You're stretching, so yoga you kind of get both worlds in. You're stretching and you're moving, so you have a bit of exercise in there. Because if you've really done yoga, man, you will sweat. Like I've done yoga many times. It is incredible. You think it's just stretching. No, it actually works you out. Also, one of the benefits of yoga is you have to control your breathing. And one of the things about meditation is breathing exercises, controlling your breath, calming the heart down, calming the body down. Parts of yoga, you are going to meditate. If you've ever been to a yoga class, you do all the stretching, and you got about a 5-10 minute window where you just sit back, lay down, or sit back on your legs, and you just quiet and breathe. And calm the brain, calm the mind, calm the spirit. Okay? Yoga is excellent for dealing with depression and anxiety. It is a two-pronged method. It gives you exercise and it gives you meditation, all involved in one activity. So yoga is an excellent way of getting depression and anxiety under control. Another way is writing. I know, you're like, what? Writing. Yes. You ever heard people say write in your journal? Write? It's very important. People who deal with anxiety and depression, it's very important for them to write. Now, why should you go through the process of writing? Because you can actually, if you write down, it takes your thoughts out of your mind and put them on paper. So you have transferred those thoughts that's making you feel the way you feel onto paper. You have relieved those thoughts out of the body. You have relieved those thoughts out of the heart. It's been transferred to paper. It is a curative method of helping you deal with those thoughts that is causing you to feel the way you feel. Writing in a journal, writing just in general, helps you relay that feeling that's inside, and you put it into actual paper. You make it concrete. Writing is very important. Also, what makes writing so great is that writing actually allows you to go back and figure out what are some of your triggers. Okay? I'm going to take a sip of water. Writing allows you to go back and look at what causes you to have certain triggers. When you write down what you're feeling at that time and what caused you to feel the way you felt, you can go back and try to fix those issues. Oh, this person upset me so much, this and that, this and that. And you know, this person said this and that, this and that. Oh, John said this and that, this and that. And you'd be like, hold on a second. Every time I get around John, this is causing me an issue. I notice my heart start to race. I start to sweat. I start to feel like I can't control myself. What is it about John that's causing me these issues? Maybe I need to eliminate John out of my life. What is he doing? Or what is it that he is causing me to feel? Why am I feeling like this? Maybe I need to figure it out why it is. So, writing also contributes tremendously to you controlling your depression and anxiety, okay? So writing is extremely important. Next thing, and everyone is talking about this, and I am a true believer of this, get counseling. Get counseling. When you are dealing with depression, you can exercise, you can do yoga, you can meditate, you can write, but sometimes you need someone to help you out. Sometimes you need someone to express this to. Go to counseling. Go to counseling. Counseling is extremely important when you're dealing with depression. It's one of the things. You need somebody to help you dig deep and figure out sometimes what is causing this from the get-go. Okay? What is causing these problems? You need someone who has studied this, who has gone to school for this, who has a background in this, who can figure out ways, techniques for you to be able to get the answers that you've been trying to find. You need someone to be able to dig deep and figure out what is causing, what is the root of this. Sometimes people say, well, I've been doing this on my own. And I always say, sometimes you can't figure this out on your own. You can't figure this out on your own. You need help. You need someone whose job, that's all they do is try to figure out how to help you. Because you have, not only are you trying to help you, but you got a job, you may have a family, you may have all these other things you have to do. But dealing with a counselor makes a major difference. Dealing with a counselor makes a major difference. They can help you pinpoint what's causing the issues. I've been to counseling before. I found out some things about myself, and I was like, holy crap, okay, that makes sense. You don't realize how much your family upbringing contributes to who you are as an adult. You know, when you start to recognize, oh, well, you know, I do this because of this, because of what I did at 10 or 12 or what my parents taught me or this and that. This is the reason why you go to counseling, because you may have to unlearn some bad traits, unlearn some bad behaviors, unlearn some things that's in your subconscious that the counselor can help you figure out. Counseling is very important. So you can have all the aspects of dealing with mental health, such as working out every day, doing yoga, doing meditation, writing down, and you're still not getting to the root of the problem. And the counselor job is to go in and try to help you pinpoint the root of the problem and fix it. Okay?
Absolutely. Can I say something?
Yes.
This is Adrian. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
You're in my backyard, so I'm sorry to interrupt. But you're in my backyard. I was a mental health counselor for 19 years. And who is the worst kind of client for a mental health counselor, for any kind of counselor, a psychiatrist, anything? You know who the worst client is?
Tell me.
The counselor.
Oh, they always say the worst patient is the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. A psychiatrist, and now to keep you're a psychiatrist, to keep your degree, to keep your certification, you have to see a psychiatrist at least once or twice a year. But I'm gonna give you this story. I was a mental health counselor for 19 years.
Yeah.
1 year. I mean, I'm not even talking about the year I went blind. My father died, and about 3 months later, my mother died. No, first my grandmother died, who I was very close to. Then my father died. Then my mother died. All within less than a year and a half.
Okay.
And I would go to work every day. And then one day, my supervisor pulled me to the side and said, Adrian, something is wrong. You're not your normal self. You're not as patient with it wasn't the clients, it was my coworkers. That your coworkers are noticing that you're not as patient as you used to be. They didn't say a client complained, but they said that you're snapping at people and you're walking around with this attitude, and you don't have that attitude. You're usually a sweetheart, and people are noticing. And I'm like, well, that's their problem. That ain't my problem. And she said, that's what I'm talking about. That's not usually your response.
Yeah.
So they told me, we want you to go to get counselor. Me? I'm a mental health counselor. I don't need counseling. What can she do for me? Literally, I said, what can she do for me? And then so it was my supervisor and her supervisor. Then her supervisor said, okay, let me put it this way. We know you're strong-minded, and you're a very strong person, and you're an excellent counselor. We don't want to lose you. But let me put it to you this way. Either you go to counseling, and we got the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program. Program will pay for it, or we'll suspend you. I said,
that'll do it, right?
I said, okay, what's her number?
That'll do it.
I went, still have this attitude as I'm a counselor, I'm a good counselor, I don't need this. And I went to her office, and I went 4 times. First time, I sat there and wouldn't say a word. Second time, she said, "Do you want to come in and sit again?" I said, "That's my plan." And she kept asking me questions. Well, how do you feel? Do you miss your mother? Do you dream about your father? And I'm like, in my head, I'm going blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm a counselor. My head was too big.
Yeah,
I'm a good counselor. I don't need this. And then so about the fourth time, she said something that clicked, and I lost it. Because I had to plan. My mother lived with me until she died because she had dementia. My father, I took care of all his stuff. So I'm a strong one in the family. Even I didn't want to go to the funeral. I don't need to go to the funeral. I loved them while they were living. And I got 8 brothers and sisters. They literally drug me in, and I lost it. All she did was put a box of tissues in front of me, and then she goes. And then when I finished, she goes, and I think that lasted maybe about 20, 25 minutes. And she goes, "Okay, now I'm gonna sign the paper so you can go back to work because that's all I wanted you to do." I was like, and so from that I understand why they say the worst clients to counseling and mental health are mental health workers.
I can see
nobody knows, So I'm glad you brought that up because this is the first time I admitted that I did that out loud.
Well, God bless. I'm glad you admitted it. But this is why we have a podcast. This is not just me talking. We're actually talking.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like dealing with mental health. Most people it's like a stigma behind it, and I'm glad that the stigma is coming off. But it is a stigma behind it that if you're dealing with mental health issues, you're weak, and that's not true. Actually,
no,
a lot of people who deal with mental health issues are strong because of the simple fact that they still go about their day-to-day lives just imagine trying to walk around with an elephant on your back all day. You feel down and you're trying your best to pull yourself up. It's very difficult to do that. So that's why mental health is such a big focus nowadays. Also, though, but sometimes I think people use that just as an excuse. But for those who are actually dealing with it, it is such a great burden to deal with. So going to counseling is one of the most important things you can do. Well, this is one caveat I have. Counseling is not forever. I feel like that you may feel differently, I don't know. I believe counseling is for a time to get you out of the place and then you move along. Some people have been in counseling for 10, 12, 13 years. And I always say, if you've been in counseling that long, is it working? Is it working?
It's not working.
No.
Counseling is moving forward.
Yeah, it's meant to move you forward. But some people, they go to counseling for years and years and years. And I said, well, is it really working? Is it benefiting you? Because the goal of it is supposed to be a season. Counseling is supposed to get you where you need to go so you keep progressing. But some people never graduate. They still in ninth grade. You're supposed to graduate from it and move beyond it. Even if you have deep-seated issues, you go for a period, you go for a season, you get some of those issues worked out, then you move on. And then if you need a refresher, then you go back maybe a couple of years or 2 years later, whatever it requires. But it should not be an ongoing situation where you've been in counseling for 10 years. If you have, then you may be more than just depression and anxiety. You may be dealing with schizophrenia or some other thing. But even that, it should be a pointed time. There should be a start and there should be a finish date. It should not be indefinite. So that's my only concern with that. But outside that, I am a proponent of us getting counseling. I think it's a need. Most people have dealt with pain and don't know how to release it and let it go. So we talked about that. We talked about that in the first one.
Can I add this to that statement which you just said? And it's not the patient's fault. If the patient is in counseling forever, I would look at the
it's not the patient. I agree.
The job of the counselor is to move you forward.
That's right.
And if the counselor's still there, the counselor has their own agenda.
That's right. I agree 100%. That's one thing I'm glad you put that caveat in there. It is not the patient's fault if they've been in there because, like you said, the counselor job is to move you forward. Now, if the counselor just see you as a paycheck, then he's going to keep you there as long as possible. They like the pharmaceutical company, keep you on blood pressure medicine for 30 years. So we're not trying to do that here. We're trying to heal and move people forward. That's what the Health Man Show is about. So We talked about counseling. Now let's talk about supplements. That's really good for helping you deal with depression and anxiety. Now, that's a lot out there, so I'm gonna keep it simple with these. The number one supplement I like, and I think is great for you, is CBDs. Now, I know everybody heard of CBDs.
Yeah.
CBDs, cannabinoid D. It comes from hemp, or you could get it from the cousin of plain hemp, marijuana. Okay. Now you already know the brothers who get down and smoking the blunts and the joints back in the day and all them other things, and they just chill as can be, and nothing bothers them. The flower power, all that, the hippies, they will smoke, and people to this day still love marijuana. And why is that? Because marijuana chills you out. Now, it does some other, it does a lot of other things too, the THC part. But we're talking about the CBDs. CBDs are cannabinoids. So I want people to understand they're cannabinoids. Now, what is a cannabinoid? Cannabinoids are basically plant components, plant phytochemicals that have an effect on certain systems in the body. Okay? I'm going to tell you how effective and how important cannabinoids are. You have in your body a system called endocannabinoid system. The same way you have a circulatory system, the same way you have a nervous system, the same way you have a musculoskeletal system, the same way you have a lymphatic system, you have a system in your body called the endocannabinoid system. Okay? This system's job is to recognize cannabinoids in the body. You have receptor sites all over the body that abuses cannabinoids. Now, cannabinoids are not just from hemp or marijuana. They come from many different plants. Carrots have them, marigold, calendula. Most all plants, a lot of plants have cannabinoids. Hemp or marijuana has the highest amount of cannabinoids in any system. Of any plant. It's so abundant that they actually named the system behind it. Endocannabinoid system. It's coming from cannabis. Endocannabinoid system. It's that important. Cannabinoids have a tremendous effect on dealing with stress, anxiety, depression, inflammation, pain, immunological functions, stress hormone, all those things like that. Your cannabinoid system is interconnected with your endocrine system. Your endocrine system is your glandular system of the body. So your pituitary, your pineal, your adrenals, your hypothalamus, your gonad, your pancreas, all these things, these glands in the body that secrete hormones are interwoven with the system in the body called endocannabinoid system. CBDs are a cannabinoid coming from hemp that's extremely good for calming the body down. It also deals with pain, anxiety, depression, fatigue, depending on the cannabinoids, all those things like that. Now, you don't only have just CBD, you also have CBGs, CBAs, CBCs. There's so many different cannabinoids out there, but the main one that you find is CBD. Now, the biggest thing I hear all the time, Abdul, I don't want to do that. That comes from marijuana. I don't want to get high. I don't want to get high. Well, God bless you, you're not. Cannabinoids in the form of like CBDs and all that do not get you high. THC, tetrahydrocannabinoid, something like that, gets you high. CBD does not. CBD, think of if you ever had the plant before in your life. The THC gives you the buzz. The CBD is what calms you down and relaxes you. So think of all the benefits of the plant without the high. CBDs are excellent for dealing with people who deal with depression, anxiety, okay? One of the best things you can do is CBDs. Now, there's different companies out there. They have different strains of CBDs, but CBDs are very effective. You could get it in a gummy. You could get it in a liquid. You could get it in a capsule. It all depends on the form you want. If you get it in a liquid, you hold it underneath your tongue for about 30 to 45 seconds and then swallow it. If you get it in a gummy, you just chew it. If you get it in a capsule, you just swallow it. The fastest form for your body to respond to it is the liquid. Okay? The fastest form is the liquid. It can hit you in a matter of 2 minutes up to 5 minutes, sometimes up to 20 minutes. A gummy could take about 45 minutes to an hour. A capsule can take even longer. But a capsule lasts the longest in the system. Okay? Now, there are different forms of CBDs. We're not going to get into that. We'll do that another day. But the CBDs are the number one thing I think is excellent for dealing with depression and anxiety. And it's safe. Okay? Number 2, we already had a big discussion about this. Omega-3s, baby. Omega-3s. We keep going back to omega-3s. What was my famous statement? 95% of all diseases start with inflammation, and the first thing that turns off inflammation in the body is omega-3. Okay? But not only that, omega-3s have a powerful effect on the nervous system. Powerful effect on the nervous system. People who are deficient in omega-3s have a greater chance of dealing with depression and anxiety. Omega-3s calm the body down by giving you the healthy fats that regulate prostaglandins. These prostaglandins regulate hormonal function. Prostaglandins also help lower those stress hormone levels. It also balances the brain chemistry. Omega-3s are extremely important for dealing with depression and anxiety. That's number 2. Number 3, SAMe. So SAM-E. SAMe. SAMe is excellent. It's a methylation molecule. I'm not going to get into that. Okay? SAMe acts as a natural antidepressant. Now, let me say something really fast. Before you get on all this stuff, if you are on medicine for depression and anxiety, you talk to your physician, but mainly you talk to your pharmacist. Okay? I don't want you to go up there and say, Abdul said take SAMe and you on Prozac. I don't want that. I want you to talk to your pharmacist and your physician before you get on any of these products I'm talking about if you are on medication. If you're on medication, okay? You are antidepressant medication. So SAMe acts as a natural antidepressant. SAMe is really good for relieving arthritis pains, like osteoarthritis pain. SAMe improves the symptoms of fibromyalgia. SAMe detoxifies the liver. SAMe is really good for brain function. And SAMe is a natural pain reliever. Okay? If you're going to do SAMe, you need to be doing about 400 milligrams a day. Now, there's clinical proof you could do higher, but most supplements you get on the market is going to be anywhere between 2 to 400 milligrams a day. You're going to do about 400 milligrams a day, okay, of SAMe. SAMe, okay? Another good one is St. John's wort. Now, we've all heard of St. John's wort. St. John's wort reduces depression symptoms. Somebody was about to say something?
I said, ew.
Yes, St. John's wort is excellent. Man, it is really raining. St. John's wort is excellent for reducing depression symptoms. St. John's wort actually has natural antiviral properties to it. So people who deal with like herpes and things like that, you know St. John's wort is really good for that. It's really good for dealing with like I can't think of the hepatitis. So St. John's wort is really good for dealing. Did you know St. John's wort is also good? It actually counteracts the HIV virus too. So St. John's wort has natural antiviral effects. St. John's wort is really good for pain, and it relieves the fact, and it's really good for nerve pain. So people who deal with nerve pain, St. John's wort. B complex. B vitamins. You have B complex vitamins. If you're dealing with stress and anxiety, you should be doing B complex every day. B complex 50 or B complex 100. I would think you should do B complex 100. B complex is the B vitamin, so it gives you B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, folic acid or folate. It gives you PABA, all the B vitamins. And why is this important? When the body is going through times of stress, B vitamins are one of the first things that's burnt up the fastest. So when your body is going through stress and anxiety and depression, It is actually burning your B vitamins up. And B vitamins help you deal with those things. That's why the B vitamins are burnt up first, because B vitamins help your body deal with stress, anxiety, depression. So taking the B complex is excellent. Rhodiola is another great herb. Rhodiola is another great herb. It helps with stress. It helps with feeding the adrenal glands. It is an adaptogenic herb. Now, what is an adaptogenic herb? Like, Abdul, what's an adaptogenic herb? Adaptogenic herbs are herbs that help the body respond to stress. Okay? That's exactly what the herbs are. They can give you energy, like rhodiola gives you energy, but it actually helps the body respond to stress by feeding and regenerating the adrenal glands. The body responds to stress from the pituitary and the adrenal glands. Okay? The adrenal glands is what secretes the stress hormone. Okay? It secretes the stress hormone. So taking rhodiola feeds the adrenal glands, reduces the stress hormone, helps you deal with depression. It gives you energy. Okay? So it kind of gets you out of the funk. And it's a very good herb for dealing with depression, and also can help with anxiety, because it calms. Even though it gives you energy, it's a calming energy. Okay? There are two types of energy. You have a wired energy, and you have a calming energy. Adaptogens give you a calming energy. And what do we mean by calming energy? When you just wake up, you say, man, I feel good. Caffeine gives you, man, I want to go for a run. When you take Siberian ginseng, when you take suma, when you take fo tea, when you take ashwagandha, when you take rhodiola, these things are calming energy. Man, I feel good. I want to get up and do stuff, but I feel good. But I'm not wired. I can sit down here, but I feel good. So rhodiola. Number 7, 5-HTP. 5-HTP. 5-HTP is a nutrient. It's actually a metabolite of tryptophan. That's an amino acid. 5-HTP is excellent for helping to build serotonin levels. Serotonin levels are your brain chemistry. It is the feel-good hormone. When you want to feel good, you take your body creates serotonin. When you're in love, your body's secreting a tremendous amount of serotonin and dopamine. You know, when you eat some great food and you feeling, oh man, this is good, your body's secreting a tremendous amount of serotonin and dopamine. 5-HTP secretes serotonin. It makes your body secrete more serotonin. So 5-HTP is extremely good for helping you deal with depression and things like that. Saffron. Yeah, the herb saffron. Remember we did the video on your kitchen cabinet cures? Well, saffron is a seasoning. Saffron is another herb that helps you build your serotonin levels up. So saffron is an excellent herb for building serotonin. Okay? Increasing your mineral consumption. Now, we talked about the B vitamins. Now we're talking about the minerals. There are minerals that's really good for relaxing and calming the body down. How many times are we going to talk about how important magnesium is? How many times are we going to talk about how important magnesium is? Magnesium is one of the most important minerals that you can deal with when you're dealing with times of stress, anxiety, and depression. Magnesium helps your body relax. Magnesium calms the brain down. Magnesium helps you sleep better, because sometimes when you deal with anxiety, you can't sleep. Magnesium calms the heart. Calcium is another great mineral that's really good. Zinc, because when you're dealing with times of stress, you usually lower your immune system. Zinc and selenium is really good for dealing with immunological issues. So you increasing your mineral consumption really helps you with dealing with depression, anxiety, and stress. Sometimes just increasing your mineral consumption can make those symptoms go away. Because when you're deficient in some of these minerals, you have the symptoms of depression. You have the symptoms of anxiety. When you are deficient in magnesium, it's hard for the body to relax. It's hard for you to calm down. So these minerals, when you uptake more of the minerals, it's going to help you deal with depression, anxiety, stress. Okay? Now, we already did a whole podcast on vitamin D. Remember that, y'all? We did a whole podcast, a whole hour on talking about the benefits of vitamin D. Okay? Now, vitamin D is another one. I'm not going to go into all the benefits, but we already talked about how people start to feel depressed during the wintertime. It's called SAD, seasonal affective disorder. Vitamin D, that's a dropping in vitamin D. People who are dealing with deficiencies in vitamin D feel like blah. Sometimes they just do not feel good. They feel depressed. They have a lack of energy. They have a lack of get up and go. Sometimes they feel, it can actually affect, like, they feel helpless no matter what they're doing. They can't get right. A lack of vitamin D can cause that. So consuming more vitamin D can help assist you with that. Aromatherapy. That's right. That's right. Get out and smell the roses. What they say, go out and smell the roses. That actually, and roses and oil, you go aromatherapy. Go get out and smell the roses, you know. Aromatherapy helps deal with stress and anxiety and depression, okay? And why do I say that? When you have great scents in the house, when you're breathing in herb oils like lavender, you have chamomile oil, you have lang lang oil, you have, so I like patchouli. A lot of people don't like patchouli, but I love patchouli. Patchouli oil, peppermint oil. These things uplift your spirit. Ginger oil, rosemary oil helps you improve your mood, uplift your spirits, bring up the natural, reduce the cortisol levels, bring up your natural serotonin levels, help you relax, help you calm down. Aromatherapy oils help you with your depression and can definitely help you calm down when it comes down to dealing with anxiety. Now, there's some other herbs out there that I didn't mention. You could talk about Damiana, a great herb for helping you deal with stress. You could talk about skullcap, valerian, if you're having problems with calming the nerves down. You also have herbs like holy basil, chamomile, peppermint, ginger even helps a little bit. So you have a lot of different herbs that can help you with calming the body down, help you deal with stress, anxiety, depression, and things like that. So we went through the list of herbs. We went through some vitamins. We went through techniques. Now, throw some questions out if you have any questions. And let's talk. We got a couple of more minutes.
Brother Abdul.
What's going on, Brother Forrest?
I'm sorry, wait a minute. I heard a lady's voice. Go ahead. Ladies first. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, health man, it's Latoya.
What's going on, Latoya?
So I have dealt with depression.
Mm-hmm.
I have dealt with also anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So I must say, seeing someone, it do help. I had to see someone. And it helped me, but it was only for a short period of time.
Yeah, sometimes you need that. Yeah.
Yes, but it helped. And I do have control of my anxiety.
Yeah. That's good.
Without no medication. No, I never took it anyway.
That's good.
So though, you're not going to drug. Not saying that it wasn't needed, but I didn't feel though I should have to be on that order for me to calm down.
Yeah.
That's just me talking.
Well, that's good. You know, some people actually, I'm a firm believer in you do what was best for you. You chose not to do the medication, and I think that's a great way of doing it. But some people actually need it, like they need it, until they can able to wean themselves off. But you going to counseling and getting the help you need, that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. Now, there's nutrients, like I just spoke about. We talked about last time, Latoya, about the magnesium and you taking those things and the vitamins and all those other things. There are things nutritionally that you can do that give your body the tools to help it calm down. Like we talked about meditation, we talked about yoga, we talked about breathing exercises, all those things like that. But all those help. But if you have a deficiency that's actually contributing to it, it makes it even worse. So the nutrition part also is just as important when it comes down to the counseling and everything else too. So I'm a firm believer in doing everything you can when it comes down to mental health. You know, doing everything you can to get you back to good brain health, get you back in order, get you back to where you need to be so you can have a positivity in your life. Now, Forrest, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. Capsules with the herbs. As opposed, I got red clover capsules and rosemary, and now I also have cut and sifted. You know, I deal with Frontier. I know you're familiar with San Francisco.
Yes.
You got Mountain Rose, Flower Power over New York, Ambrosia. I switch up. You know, but anyway, in your research, Brother Abdul, are the capsules just as potent as the cut and sifted when you steep your teas?
Well, yes and no. Capsules can be just as potent. Capsules are just convenient. So the best way right now of getting your herbs is extract. The best way is the liquid in the extract form. Why is that? Because alcohol gives you the best solvent for any herbal component in there. Water soluble and fat soluble can dissolve inside of alcohol. So that's one of the beautiful parts about an extract. So the extract is the best form. The capsules, making a tea out of it is great. Making a tea out of it is great. Doing a capsule is great. At the end of the day, for us, really honestly, it has to do with convenience. I'm a firm believer in making it convenient for you. Because if it becomes a chore, most of the time people won't do it. Like if you have to sit down and boil a tea every day, 15 minutes, strain it, wait until it cool off, and you drink that, versus you just popping a couple of pills or put some extract in water, I think it's best to do what's easier for you. Because if it becomes a chore, people stop.
Yeah, Abdul, it really doesn't bother me. All right. Also, second thing up there at the health food store, I was talking to Rashad. The moringa that you discussed last week, you have that in powder, and also do you have the tea bags?
No. So at the store, we have moringa tea bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the moringa tea bags, and we also have the moringa powder. Now, I talked about Indian and African moringa. The African moringa we only sell in powder. The Indian moringa comes both in powder and in tea bags, in capsules too. So the African only comes in one way. There's only one company that really focuses on African, so that's why.
Okay, another thing, I'll be in contact with you. We now have a YouTube page up for everybody. I know you're a YouTube whiz with
no.
technology.
Not a YouTube whiz.
Well, I have a young lady now that puts up, so a couple of your best shows I'll let you select unless you want to shoot a new one and put up there. Or you could, Miss Carol will give you a call because I think she knows how to put them up there. And we like to use two of your best presentations on the YouTube umbrella with the family because everybody that has shows is going to go up underneath there.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all.
Huh?
No problem at all. No problem at all.
I appreciate it. All right, Miss Carol, you heard that. Thank you. All right, thank you, Brother Abdul.
No problem.
All right.
Yeah, any other questions? When it comes down to mental health, it's so funny. It's so many athletes, there's so many people coming out about mental health because it is a real problem. First and foremost, I do believe one of the reasons why we have such a larger problem, it is the deficiency of the nutrition in the food. If you're lacking certain things, I do believe your body, it makes it harder for the body to cope with certain things. If you do not have enough B vitamins in your food, guess what? It's harder. That's one of the first things that the body burns up. So you go into a more of a stress cycle, if you want to say. If you have a lack of minerals in the food, it's one of the things that affects you. But I also believe there's a lot of environmental toxins that's playing a major role in that. And then we have a lot more stresses in our environment. A lot more stresses in our environment than we did before. Trying to keep up with the Joneses, dealing with the effects of social media on family and kids, more people having to work extra hours because of the simple fact that your money doesn't go as far as it used to be. I think all these things have a contributing factor. The violence in the community, all these things have a contributing factor to your mental health. So if we sit back and really focus on what is affecting you, you'll start to look at a lot of environmental issues that it really affects us. Now, there's also things that we have to deal with that we grew up with from our family and everything like that. But I do believe there's a lot of environmental causes for the increase in mental health. Also, I also believe that people used to cope back in the day with mental health differently. Some people used to just drink. Oh, it's all good. That's Johnny. He's over there just drinking. And he's in pain, but he doesn't know how to express the pain. So he drinks. Or people will drug to deal with it, too, to deal with their mental health issues. But I do believe there's an explosion in mental health because of those other environmental factors. Lack of nutrition, more toxins in there, a lack of, more and more stressors in our environment that's causing people to break down and become, deal with depression, deal with anxiety, all those things like that.
Yes, Brother Abdul. I think this is a great topic, and it's very interesting. I did Seasons of Change, and we talked about the reaction to change and how it's similar to the grieving process.
Yeah.
And what we see is a lot of people get stuck. There's so many layers of change happening so fast that we see that people are stuck in the anxiety and the depression, and then they don't know how to cope or have that mechanism to work it out. So added to the stresses that you're saying, it's just all compounded.
Yeah, I agree. My brother used to always say people go through cycles. He said like every 7 to 8 years there's a cycle, and you have to learn from you're supposed to come out of that cycle, and you're supposed to learn what caused you to be in that cycle, right? So you have a cycle from like 21 to 28. Around 28 you start to change. But if you still keep trying to do the same thing that you were doing when you're 21 to 27, you will be stuck in that cycle. You'll be stuck in that. And you'll see a person that's in their 30s or 40s and all that, and they still seem like they're stuck in their past because they haven't got past that cycle. You know, go on to the new cycle. Like you said, a season of change. Sometimes you can't stay in spring. Fall is needed. Summer is needed. Fall is needed. You know? You need these things. You need for the change. You need to change who you are sometimes. You need to change your environment sometimes. So, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that tremendously. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that it's okay to have changes in your life. You know, it's okay. You know, so.
Because that's how we grow.
Yeah, you can't. You can't be the same way. You can't be a sapling all your life if you're trying to be a tree. You got to change. You got to grow. So, okay, are we done with the questions today? Because if we are, we're gonna shut this down.
Well, Abdul, just one other thing. Do you know who comes on behind you tomorrow?
Who comes on behind me?
Tomorrow, yes.
Oh, I don't know. Wasn't it someone that? I don't know. It's a sister. I think it was a sister at like 11 o'clock because I'm at work at that time.
Dr. Bev. Yeah,
Dr. Bev. Okay, yeah. Yes, 11 to 12. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I don't listen because I'm usually at work, and it's just harder for me at work during that time.
No, I know. No, I was just saying because normally when someone ends this show, they always try to announce to the listening audience for the.
Okay, so Dr. Bell.
Yes, okay. Dr. Bell between 11 and 12, and then she comes back on from 5 to 6.
She comes on the same time on the same day? I mean, like different times. Dr. Bell. Okay, that's
2 hours. Yeah, she has an hour show in the morning. And then off of what she puts out there, a presentation, then we reflect on it later on in the afternoon from 5.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So Dr. Bell. So you could get on.
Bev,
B-E-V, like Beverly.
Dr. Biv? Okay. Like Bell Biv DeVoe?
No. Beverly, like Beverly Hills.
Okay. Bev, okay. Dr. Bev at 11 o'clock a.m. on Mondays on Grown Folks Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Well, listen here. I'm going to thank you for coming on in today. I hope y'all enjoyed this presentation. This was a good one. I think this is very important. And I'm hoping to reach out and listen to everyone, to speak to everyone next week, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday nights on Grown Folks Podcast. Thank y'all so much. I see y'all next week, okay?
Thank you. I'll be calling you, Abdul. Peace.
Good night.
All right, good night. Good night, everybody. Dr. Bev tomorrow, y'all.
Dr. Bev.
That's right. Hey, who said that?